Everybody, thanks much for tuning in. I shouldn't have put this mint in my mouth right now. Thanks much for tuning in. My name is Erik Hatch with Hatch Realty and Hatch Coaching out of Fargo, North Dakota. Joined with me today is a good friend and a major asset in our lives. His name's Connor Johnson. We're going to get to Connor in just a minute. But those of you that are tuning in, we want this to be a conversation, not just a presentation. So if you're watching live, please post some questions in the chat box. I'll act as moderator and throw them to Connor as we go. But we have a main mission in mind, and that is to help you better your training and onboarding. Frankly, there is a blind spot in most of our businesses, and that is if we're wise enough to bring in great A-level talent, unbelievable people, we then tend to be very mediocre at best at training and onboarding them. And then we're left to wonder, why are we not as successful as we want to be? And why is this person not bearing the fruit that I see? And Connor has been our training, onboarding, and development director now. Is it 4 years or so, Connor, you've been doing this?
4 years.
Yeah, and every agent that comes into our ecosystem goes through Connor's system, works with Connor, and he has mastered training and onboarding to the point where we've never had somebody start in real estate in our world, literally dozens and dozens of people, and have not made it as a realtor and found success with it. And Connor's fingerprints are all over that. Hatch Realty will sell about 850 homes this year, and a lot of that has to do with Connor and our training and onboarding. So again, make this a conversation, not just a presentation. If you have things, throw them up here. Our goal is to finish in under an hour. Connor's going to share some slides with you. Please take some active notes and make sure that you're set. Otherwise, I'm going to be quiet for most of the time, try not to crunch my mint. And Connor will be leading us. So Connor Johnson, so glad to have you here, buddy. It's all yours.
Great to be here. Thank you, Mr. Erik Hatch. Thanks all for attending. Erik, thanks for the high praises there. This is a passion, this concept of training. It's been around a long time in my blood, and God, there is a battle cry out there, a need for us to fix our training for our people. And I think one of the best things I can do is paint a picture of the typical experience that might happen in the real estate industry. And I'm going to use my buddy Clark. Clark is the best agent, best fictional agent this side of the Mississippi. Clark has a team of 3 agents, 2 admin. Clark runs all over town, selling houses, has abundance of business to give to his team. Clark is just doing everything he can to get some houses sold, try and manage the team. And lo and behold, Clark gets notice from his agent entering their 3rd year, who's really starting to produce big numbers, that they are leaving. Clark, in the middle of all of this, he's in a week where he has to write 3 offers. He's got an inspection coming up. He's got 2 closings. One has issues. Now has to think about hiring someone. Not only just hiring someone, but training them to replace someone who in their 3rd year was starting to really produce for the company. Clark, in this moment, is looking to do a few things. He's looking to hire someone as quickly as possible. He is looking to give them business to produce sales for the team. And Clark, if we're being honest, is looking to alleviate the pressure he is feeling right now. I like to imagine, all of us can imagine, those are the goals we find ourselves trying to achieve when it comes to hiring and training someone when we are starving for someone. Hire and train quickly, give them some business, and alleviate the pressure so we can get back to our lives. Now, I want to unpack these 3 goals a little bit more. I want to take a look at these things, these 3 goals. So, teach a new hire how to be an agent as quickly as possible. What are we really saying there? Speed means they can get out there and make sales for me quickly because my margins need it. That's the honest thing that's going on in our heads. And we justify that with an excuse of, well, they should want sales as fast as possible. They need a paycheck as well, so it's okay that we have to move quick to get this taken care of and get them hired and up and running. That's some justification we tell ourselves for that first goal we often come up with for training. Number 2, give them business to produce sales for my team. We're saying that we're really good at what we do and we have too much business I need someone to take care of this for me. I'm going to miss out on profit if I don't get others to take some of this off my plate, right? And again, the justifiable excuse is that I have business to give. I'm a gift to whoever wants to come work with me. I'm a blessing for them. They should be thanking me for just letting them walk in the door.
Hey, Connor.
Yeah.
I know you've never been a rainmaker, but man, we are egotistical jerks sometimes. That's what you're saying right now. And like our intentions aren't ever bad, but we're short-sighted. And I love that you're touching on that. Sorry, I just couldn't help but smell my own.
No problem. And full transparency here, gang. My slides giving me some issues, so I'm just going to talk to you directly. I hope you'll forgive me. This is something I can share with you after the fact.
Yeah, we'll email out this slideshow afterwards so that everybody has access to it. That'll be the easiest thing.
Something we'll refer back to. So yeah, Eric, thanks for reading between the lines there, right? Like we are such a blessing to these people. You're welcome, new person. That should be all we have to give is this opportunity for business, and that's good enough. And then honestly, that third goal that we probably don't say to their face often is alleviate the pressure I'm feeling right now as the team lead, as the person in charge of training, who often has so many hats they're wearing. And what we're really saying there is just, I'm so disorganized and unfocused. I just need a warm body that I can dump some of this on, so I can get back to just doing what I need to do for me. And honestly, the excuse is, yeah, how can I do anything well if I'm feeling this stressed? I just need to hand this off so I can get some breathing room. Then things will get better if I can get some breathing room. This is the vicious cycle we often find ourselves in. We wait until we have a pain point to hire. We do it fast. We think just giving them business is enough. And we think, I just got to be able to breathe and things will fix themselves. But here's the problem is we give that person some basic training. We give them some business. And what kind of loyalty are they giving back? As long as that person's getting some business and they learn how to do the job, they might stick around for a bit. But the second another opportunity comes up that could give them more business, if that's all you're all about, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to tempt them to walk away. And here we go, resetting this thing over and over and over. If that's the value proposition we come up with, if those are the three goals we operate with, we have agents who aren't going to stick with us very long because opportunities are out there that they're going to think are more appealing. They're going to learn what they can from you. They're going to take what nuggets they can from you, and they're going to move on fast if that's all we're focused on. And really, if you think about those three goals, wasn't that a lot of me? If I'm the team lead, if I'm the rainmaker, if I'm the person in charge?
Connor, there's an understanding in this business that once an agent hits about 24 deals a year on a team, they tend to be major flight risks, that they've gotten all that they could from that person because it's very much a me relationship. It's like that I'm there, if I'm the agent, I'm there to serve the rainmaker, and now that I've figured out that I can serve myself, I'm going to be gone quickly. And so you're naming some really big foundational pieces here.
Huge. If our goals for training are all me as the person with the pain, well, their whole motivation is going to be me as well. So what loyalty are you breeding with your training? Not much at all. What we're really doing with so much of our training is we have a people are cogs for my machine mindset. People are cogs for my machine mindset. What can they do for me? And I don't know about you, but I don't like being viewed as a cog. So if that's what our training's accidentally doing, we have some problems. And here's where, great, Clark is going to find that next hire. But that other person, maybe now his second longest serving agent, they're on borrowed time. If Clark keeps training the way he's training based on pain points and short-term thoughts of I'll just give you business and figure it out, he's going to be resetting this roller coaster over and over and over until he probably eventually just burns out. It is not sustainable to operate our training with these mindsets that we're talking about here. And my gosh, it's something I've tried to research a little bit, but what is the average cost of hiring? The answer for hiring and training someone really depends on the industry, but the most consistent answer I could get is $2,000 to hire and train someone. But I don't think we take into account potential. What could an agent do for you in year 3, 4, 5, 6 if you make sure they stay with you? What kind of dollars are we missing out on? I think we think it's too easy and we're too okay with hitting the reset button, and we're not treating this new hire like $1 million investment, and that's what they are. what they can do for you long-term if you pour into them could make your company, your team so much abundance, but we're always hitting that reset button and never realizing that amount of profitability if we want to talk in dollars and cents. We got to treat our new people like $1 million investments, everybody, because that's what they truly are. So I've painted a picture for you. I've picked on poor Clark, who's just living in the moment, very me oriented with the motivation, the goals of training. But what if it wasn't about me? What if it was not even about we? What if it was especially about you, the proverbial new team member? So what am I saying there? What if the training was about us investing in that person before anything else? Our number one priority of our training is to pour into that person we let into our world, number one. I did some math, or something like math. I don't necessarily love math. I'm not very good at math, but here's the equation. You, the new hire, times your own purpose, your own goals, and your own personality equals the best you for you. And the we, which is the team, also get the best you for our benefit. And as a byproduct, that's good for me, the team lead. You times your own purpose, goals, and personality equals the best you for you, and the we, which as a byproduct is good for the me being the team lead. That's what we need to do here. We need to make our people we bring into our world the best versions of themselves. I know I'm getting excited. I'm getting to the stuff I love because I start to get tongue-tied and talk fast, so I hope you can all bear with me here. But when we can make someone the best version of themselves, that raises the bar for the whole team, and as a byproduct, our team's gonna make more. As a byproduct, not the focus point. It starts with pouring into that person before anything else, everybody. If we can multiply that new person with their unique potential, then we as a team will soar. And that's good for us in the long term as people who are part of that team. How am I doing, Eric? Am I getting too energized? Am I moving too quick? So really, we're talking about being servant leaders for the people we bring into our world, everybody. We are being servant leaders to our new team members. We are helping them learn things about themselves they did not know. We're helping them realize their potential first and foremost. Nothing really to do with real estate and all about who they are as people. And I think that's what we have to believe about training, is that through our training efforts, we're going to turn team members into the best version of themselves. That's got to be a crucial goal. Making them the best version of them. You know, I got to really pause here and comment. I'm in the middle of helping hire some team members for our world. And I want to speak to the power of pouring into people. Spent about an hour and a half having conversations with them and pouring into who they are and what they're all about and how they're wired and their life. And two people within 48 hours of me interviewing them, they paused and they said, "Thank you for taking an interest in me." Like, they were rejuvenated. Like, they paused to show appreciation for how much intentionality was poured into learning about them, to the point where they said, this is unlike anything I've ever done in any hiring, and thank you for taking an interest in me. Gang, I think what's going on there is they value that because it's so rare for people to take an interest in who they are, what they're all about, and what matters to them.
Connor, I'm trying to look at this from a different perspective, because
Sure.
I get to live in our world together that we help to create, and we know the byproduct and we know what comes from this. But what you're saying right now is slow down, right? I'm like, let's summarize the last 15 minutes. What you're saying, reiterating and beating us over the head with, is that we need to slow down. We need to hire wiser, smarter, more intentionally. And then as we're going to transcend ourselves here, we're going to move into this next chapter of how do we onboard these people well. And frankly, the answer is slowly.
Yes.
But I'm a 99D. You alluded to the Clark scenario where I'm doing all these things and I need to solve this quickly. I have to say, like, I don't like what you're saying right now. I might like the results that come from it, but I think that people believe that those results are mythical. Connor, what results do you see with people in our world? Because we're fortunate to have longer standing, higher producing agents than most anybody in the industry. What are the results that we see? Because if people are going to buy into this for the next 45 minutes, they have to be able to see the actual results. Because right now, if you're just saying slow down and take more time when I don't have time and I can't go slow,
Yeah,
I'm going to be stuck. So what are the end results that we need to see? What are we shooting for?
sure. Well, I want to comment really quick to say that time and energy is being spent one way or the other. You're doing poor training for someone and having to reset sooner. So you're doing more crummy training over and over and over again. Like the time's being spent and you're having to hit the reset button. So the time's there and you're in limbo. So stop and check yourself and realize I'm putting hours into this in some way, shape, or form, probably more than I have to. So if I
so you're saying that the irresponsible time is the short-lived, hire fast, train to mediocrity at best. Don't, like, you talk about not training to standard, but training to excellence, right? And most people, if anything, they're training to standard.
Yep.
And you're saying take the extra time, train to excellence, and then you don't have to press restart so many times.
Spot on. I mean, you might have to train 10 times. And if you count down how many hours it takes to train 10 times over, well, shoot, what if I told you if you use that same amount of hours to train 2 people who are going to be rock stars for you, what's really the smart move? What's really the productive strategic investment that makes sense to do? Because here we are, Eric. I mean, we're approaching a world where we have agents in their 5th, 6th year. And we have, 7 agents who are approaching 100 transactions each?
Yeah, between 60 and 140, it averages out to being almost 100 transactions per agent. Yeah.
Most teams would kill to have someone entering year 5 in the first place, let alone have that production. So here I am telling you, like, you're already spending the hours, maybe more spread out. So you trick yourself into not realizing it. But you're already spending the time for crummy training systems. Why not compile those hours to get people off on the right foot and become 5-year super producers for you?
Yeah. So
the time's being spent.
Yeah. You just, and again, trying to look at this as somebody from an outside perspective. You have me sold that we got to do it right the first time and that we got to move forward. But frankly, I don't know if people know what to teach and how to teach.
An excellent.
Let me pitch that back to you.
Yes. So training, what we train people on, there's so much potential here. I have broken it up into 4 themes, 4 things we should be training people on. And those 4 themes,
this should be written down.
Yes, it should. And here's my cute poetic approach to it, and I'll get more concise afterwards. But training should be prioritizing pouring into our team members to make them the best version of themselves by helping them know themselves. I think you've heard me say that enough times in our time together. We call that the self-growth theme. The self-growth component of training is really all about pouring into them, and I'll get into that more as we keep going here. Number 2, we should help our team members learn not just about lead gen, which we've all heard about, but a powerful relationship building lifestyle. This is almost an extension of helping them know themselves better than they did yesterday. Now it's realizing, or helping them realize, who do you want to be for your community? What is your community? And how do you use that to create rock solid relationships that are going to help you succeed in this business? And that's lead gen as a byproduct. Like, doing the things you love when you learn who you are is the most rock solid lead gen you could be doing. So that's how we teach them lead gen. Number 3 is we should help our team members know how to connect with people. Because in this day and age, especially, the art of connection is kind of dying.
Do you know this, Connor? I have a coaching client who hired a Gen Zer. It's a 21-year-old, and they were telling them to go and lead gen on the phone. And the person had never had a serious phone conversation before, ever.
Did the Gen Zer start short-circuiting a little bit? Like,
pretty much.
Compute?
Like, how do I not snap this message? Like, they didn't know how to have a great conversation on the phone. It's amazing.
It's a dying art, and that's tragic. And you want to stand out, you want training that's different than the average training, we should be giving that to people. We should be teaching them an art. That's how you stand out from the average team out there or other brokerages is, let's do something that's not so common anymore. And that's role play for us. That's teaching them the skills to build connections and strengthen connections through just good old conversation. Everything I've talked about up to this point, we don't barely touch real estate. We haven't even talked real estate, right? The fourth component of what training should be is now actively educating and helping our team members learn to study the real estate process and market.
You said there's 4 tenets. The first 3 have nothing to do with real estate, with contracts, with anything else. It's
growth, lead gen, role play. Nothing to do with contracts, nothing to do with real estate. Lead gen is really just being an active member in your community the way you were born to be. Yeah, it's that fourth point that is actually real estate paperwork, understanding, negotiating, all that good stuff. That it stands on the foundation of these other things we've already been talking about. Sorry, I get excited here. I get really I get jazzed up about what training could be for our people and what it could do.
There's a great question here coming from my buddy Brent. He asked if we're onboarding solely in live classes, or are we using an online product like Trainual or Thinkific to supplement that training?
Sure. I would say, early on it was very in person, but I would say yes to all the above if you were to ask me.
Mm-hmm. And we're moving more and more towards online products. Thinkific, Trainual. We built some things out that we really like, and we are we're putting those in front of our people more and more consistently. The human element still has to be there. You can't. What is it? The movie Waiting, I think, one of Ryan Reynolds' really disgusting movies. And somebody's new to a restaurant and they're just put in front of like a TV VCR combo to watch a video for a few hours. Like that's not the way to be effective with this. Yeah. But there are ways that you can scale this. And Brent, we actually have built some of those products that are available for other people.
So many messages are going to be consistent with every new person you bring in. And absolutely, we want to scale that. And we have been scaling that. And we have all these ways to make it efficient. But to Eric's point, you need that human element for someone to walk up to that training and say, what did you learn about today? And to actually engage them about what they're processing. I think that is for sure a crucial element. We got to have that human connection. And ideally, if this training is something we're doing for everyone, it's almost a common language that's easy to talk about in passing, water cooler talk. So. Team, if you're not getting this from me, I think one of the biggest things as far as how to do this training effectively is you really got to believe in a mission. Like training is not about just getting more production. You got to have a belief motivating your training. And it doesn't have to be uniform to what I'm talking about, but so driven by the idea of helping people be the best version of them. Oh, that's something more beyond just sales. And that can really add some oomph, some importance to the training. And that translates to what your new team members feel as far as how seriously you're taking this training. So as far as some mindset pieces, we got to believe in a mission for what we're trying to accomplish with training beyond the surface level junk that Clark is forced to come up with, right? And we got to make sure our training's proactive instead of reactive. And that's where we're building out these modules. Why we have these modules in existence now. We have a plan in a nice package that's ready to be utilized versus so many teams that say, hey, they're starting next week. What are we going to do? That's honestly probably being a little generous. It's probably, hey, they're starting today. What are we going to do to train them? And that is not the quality of service our team members deserve. They deserve better. So we got to be proactive instead of reactive with our training. We got to have plans. And gosh, we got to be curators of learning zones. Here's something, a little pivot here, a little side note. One of the best things I've ever watched is a TED Talk by a gentleman named Eduardo Bracheño. Look up Eduardo Bracheño's TED Talk, and he talks about the existence of 2 zones that we exist in, the learning zone and the performing zone. And here's the flaw that so many of us are guilty of and so many companies across industries are guilty of. You get the job, you're a brand new team member, for a few weeks, days, however long, you learn how to do the job, and you're cut loose with no looking back. You spend a small amount of time in what we'd call the learning zone. And then right after that initial learning zone, you are cut loose to go live in the performing zone for years to come. And now here's the flawed logic is, well, if someone just operates in this performing zone for years on end, they're going to get better. That is incorrect. Eduardo Berchenio confirmed with all this research he's been doing that it is flawed to teach someone how to do a job once and then expect them to just perform, and get better by just performing for the sake of performance. By just doing the job, you're not going to become the best version of yourself. Successful companies are able to alternate between learning zones and performing zones. There's a time to perform, and then there's a time to pull team members into a learning zone. And in the learning zone is where we analyze our systems, our practices, our behavior, our habits, and try to innovate. This is scientifically proven. Learning zones, performing zones. Great companies alternate between the two. So few actually do that. You just ask people to live in the performing zone nonstop and think that's enough. We need to, as trainers, as people who provide good training, we need to regularly curate these learning zones, spaces intentionally designed to help people grow and get better. That's one of my biggest job descriptions when you ask me what I do really is I believe I'm a curator of the learning zones, especially in an industry that demands the performance zone 110% of the time. That call for learning zones is all the stronger in real estate. You want to stand out, give your team members learning zones. Give regular learning zones to your new people. That is special stuff there. Look up that TED Talk, Eduardo Berchenio, How to Get Better at the Things You Care About is the title of said TED Talk. We've got to curate learning zones. We have these modules, we have all this content we can deliver. We need that human element because training has to be adaptive to a degree. We have to check in with our people. We have to spend time learning about our people. We have to learn their strengths and weaknesses, and we have to be prepared to help them with their shortcomings. New team member A is going to be very detail-oriented, but struggle with direct conversations. New team member B is going to be good at direct conversations, but struggle with paperwork and organization. We got to be aware of that stuff to be able to help them with their unique little differences, team. That's where we need that human element to check in and make sure we are learning about the trainee. We need to make sure we know thy trainee with this stuff. And Eric, you already touched on this, but I believe it is a necessary, worthy challenge, but we got to slow down to speed up. One of my favorite sayings that I've heard in the last year that has been really ringing in my head is what is efficient is often not effective, and what is effective is often not efficient. It is so easy to say our training's 2 weeks, shadow these people, and we're going to get you leads. That's good enough. It is so efficient, but not very effective. And it might be painful to have to slow down and spend a little more time training people than you'd like. But I truly believe, and we've seen results as a team, that it is way more effective to slow down to speed up. You just got to swallow that pill. There is no silver bullet with a matter of time. Something we talk about in the modules is some time blocking strategies like the Pomodoro technique. I believe we can help you carve out time that you don't believe you have right now. We can overcome this, but yeah, there's a time commitment we have to commit to. And like I already said earlier, we're already spending that time. We just don't realize it, and we could be using it more smartly. So looking at this training, once again, I touched on them, but really we have 4 themes of training. If you can imagine like a target or a bullseye, it's our training in a nutshell. And the biggest part of this visual, the core of this target is this red color. And I'm cute and I color code things, but at the heart of it all is that self-growth. The first thing we teach in our training is self-growth activities.
Why?
As I've been saying, our number 1 priority should be to make that person the best version of themselves. And it's not going to happen overnight, but to start them on that journey. And wow, what a first impression to say, for the first time we're spending together, it's nothing to do with real estate. I want to learn about you and help you learn about you.
Mm-hmm. So how do you do that, Connor?
Excellent question. So the best way I can articulate it is the self-growth training theme has been broken down to 3 objectives. Helping our team members find their individual unique purpose, helping them realize true powerful individual goals and the means to achieve them, and also helping them understand their individual personality and how to master their natural strengths. So we have activities built into our modules, built into everything we've been building here to help them get on the path of doing that. A couple examples. That purpose search, we have something called the Fulfiller Journal. That invites a trainee to write down all of these things about them. There's a few questions, 7 questions, things like, what are your hobbies? What are your passions? What little things in life give you deep satisfaction? What big things in life give you deep satisfaction? We ask a trainee to list 10 of them. And now we have that trainee sit down and reflect and say, what's the number one thing about that hobby or passion that matters to me? What's the number one thing about that? And what we're essentially doing is we're doing the but why lens. You know, little kids, they have that phase where they say but why over and over and over again. It's so fun for them to ask all these questions. You ever realize you get to this point where what they're asking is almost this existential belief sort of answer you arrive at? You go from the concrete to this belief or this outlook of society type of answer. So this Fulfiller Journal has us say something like, I'm passionate about history. What's the number one thing about that that matters? Well, I'm so intrigued by the different lives that have been lived by people. There's something to be gained there. Now we go round and round. Well, why does that matter to you? Well, I think there's a lot to be learned from other lives that have been lived. Okay, why does that matter to you? Well, there's so much life lessons that I don't know yet. Well, why does that matter to you? Well, I don't believe life is a static point. I think we're always growing and evolving. Why does that matter to you? Holy cow, this is getting hard to answer. Well, we're channeling my beliefs as an individual. When we put people through this Fulfiller Journal, we're making them self-analyze and come to these themes. Eventually, as you answer all of these questions, you arrive at these themes, these answers where you feel like you can't go any further. You get to these beliefs, these things you think about the world, and you realize the same thing keeps popping up in multiple answers. You're onto something there. You're identifying a theme that matters to who you are as an individual, and that's the first step in helping someone unlock their individual sense of purpose for who they are as an individual. If we can help someone unlock that or get started on the journey of unlocking that, what kind of value add is that as a team? And how many teams, how many competitors can you say are doing something like that, everybody? It is a worthy challenge. It is difficult. The last round of people I put this through, they got uncomfortable. They looked up at me and said things like, this is really hard. Someone said, I don't think I really know myself that well. Holy cow.
You used an interesting phrase and you said, our competitors aren't doing this.
Yeah.
The reason why our competitors aren't doing this is because we're playing a different game. Okay. We're not playing a real estate game. Connor is not an expert in real estate. Connor is an expert in training and developing people and making sure that if they know oneself, that they're going to be their best self so that they can show up and perform. Connor's alluded to modules a couple of times. These are training modules that we've created, these blocks of training. And there's an opportunity for you to use those. We'll share that with you in a little bit, but I want to clarify a couple of pieces. Connor, we have but 20 or so minutes left. So just as a time check for you.
Thank you. Honestly, that's kind of the last piece of I want to share with you is these themes of what training ought to be and some examples of what we do and why it matters, right? And Eric, you channeled it there really well with what you said. The real estate part doesn't really matter, at least to start. What matters is helping someone be the best version of them. And honestly, across all industries, if you can help people be the best of them, you're getting the best type of team member showing up. And that Fulfiller Journal, which I started kind of explaining a little bit, there's so much more to it, but that's just one activity that we pride ourselves on teaching our people in the name of helping them unlock themselves. Just one activity under that theme of self-growth. We also teach goals. A lot of people can come up with goals, but very few know how to execute their goals. So in that self-growth theme, we spend time really analyzing their goals and giving them the framework to complete them. We teach them frameworks like the 1-3-5. We teach them about SMART goals. We teach them about the 4 disciplines of execution framework. We're not content to just hear someone tell us a goal. We want to help them break it down and really understand what it takes to achieve it. So goal setting's cute and all, but do you actually know what it takes to achieve that goal? That's some of the conversations that are a part of that training. We got to get people to think critically about themselves. That's something in this day and age, joking about like Generation Z or just people in general, is we don't think critically about ourselves even. We say these surface level things, but you want to show someone value, dig below that surface and really make them think critically about what they want for themselves and give a crap about that. That is one of the best starts to training you can do. Give a crap about those people sincerely.
Connor, we have a great question here from Karen. She says, how do you bridge the gap between all the self-discovery, which is great, yet they still need to eat. They still need to get to production. They still have to jump towards that. And then what's the time frame for your 4 levels of training?
Sure. So the 4 levels of training, as far as I'm concerned, it's adaptable. You can make it happen as fairly fast as you need to. Now, I got to be careful saying that, right? I'm not saying 48 hours, but I'm convinced that if you did 2 90-minute sessions a day, I think you could be done in 3 weeks.
So you're saying 3 hours a day for 15 days. You're saying 45 hours total.
If you needed to.
Yeah, and I think that jumps to the question of, these people need to go and get after it. They need to go and be doing these other things. I think it's a both and, isn't it? Like you can have them start to lead generate. They should be working their sphere, their database. They should be getting their Christmas card list and their wedding list, and they should be messaging out to those people. They should be intentional with social media posts and getting that word out. They can be working open houses at the same time they're doing all these other things. Is that accurate?
Very accurate. And here's something that I should name, and there's so much into this, right? But really, I mean, yeah, we're going to talk about stuff like goals, but they're also going to be getting homework to be working on, like organizing their sphere list. Like they're going to be charged homework, things to start working on that are certainly geared towards production, right? I'm not ignorant to the fact that we can't just blatantly ignore the real estate job. I'm talking about the power of that emphasis that's beyond just real estate, but absolutely, we're giving them assignments that start to set them up to be able to do that bit by bit.
Also, a lot of that comes in the original framework that we're setting for somebody. One of our new team members, her name is Keely. When we hired Keely, we told her you shouldn't expect to get a paycheck for the first 6 months. Like, right, we laid out that expectation to not say like you're gonna sell the deal your first week, and we made it where we're under promising and over delivering in all situations so that they aren't blindsided by anything. So long as the expectation is set that, hey, there's going to be in our world it's about a 5 or 6 week training period, right? You're gonna spend 6 weeks diving into this stuff, all the while you're working on growing your business too.
Spot on. I thought I had a point to add there, but clear expectations. As far as being proactive instead of reactive, part of that is having clear expectations, which should be built into your training process, right? Help them understand exactly what they're getting into, how long the training is going to be. Make sure there's no gray area. They should know exactly what they're walking into, and you can avoid a lot of headaches. Clear expectations, clarity, big deal. Comes with having a proactive plan of what training entails and what it even looks like and how long it's going to be.
First one is about self-discovery, self-development. What's next, Connor?
Lead gen. And I don't know, I almost don't love the word lead gen anymore because I think it gets a stigma of, oh, great, lead gen. I'm trying to think of a better word for it, like relationship connections, relationship strengthening. That's really what it should be. And we start with helping someone realize who they are, and it makes sense to evolve to who do you want to be for your community, and that should be a major question when it comes to lead gen.
Now, let me put this asterisk on it, Connor, because I agree with you, but there's also a different story told for different teams, is that in our world, our agents don't touch any purchase company deals, so they don't touch any leads that I've purchased. In a lot of your worlds, you do have agents who are touching and chasing after your Zillow leads, your pay-per-click, your sign calls, all those things. And so those skills have to be taught early on. But what Connor's alluding to is the deeper dive to your sphere and to your community, which is really relationship enhancement.
Yeah, and that expectation, talking about clear expectations, it should be known whether they get company leads, 10 days after they started or not. The lead gen expectation should be built in. You don't want a team who feels entitled to leads and has no sense that they need to feed themselves, right? That they don't have to do their own lead gen. So no matter
So
how
are you saying that a new agent should not be fully reliant on the company teat, and they should instead be able to figure out how to kill their own?
got to.
Aren't they flight risks then, Connor?
They could be, but if you show them the way, if you're giving them all this value, I think that's highly unlikely. And it's all about clear expectations. Here's the fact of it is, if you name it like that, like, hey, new person, do you want to be that dependent? What if something happened yesterday to this lead source we're able to feed you with right now? Are you satisfied with not being capable of feeding yourself on your own? Like, I think that's a fair challenge to name right there and then and there as far as creating clarity. No, you got to know how to feed yourself. Whether we give you leads right now or you have to earn it by showing you know how to feed yourself, it's just got to be a requirement for your sake.
And so, Connor, what does lead gen training look like?
Well, first and foremost, so many people say, I don't know what to do for lead gen. So one of our first things is this mind stretch activity where we help them clearly define who their sphere is. The term sphere is a little vague. It's like the ocean. How do we make them create smaller ponds? So who is your sphere? And we make them critically think about the groups in their life. Your immediate family, your secondary family, if you will, or relatives, I should say. Your classmates from college, from high school. Let's break it down even further. Your old football team buddies from high school, your old choir buddies from high school. We want them to get so specific with who exists in their world already as far as what is their sphere. We also have them realize all the different ways you can communicate with people, texting, email, handwritten note, to realize all the forms of media we can use to connect with them. And then lastly, we help them realize all the reasons we connect with people. It's not just about calling and asking for business. It's all about showing value to your community. And that can look like calling, emailing to celebrate people, to offer help, to ask for advice, to invite to hang out. That's just a few examples of the countless reasons we engage people in general. So lead gen could look like, you know what? I'm going to engage my old high school football buddies I've lost touch with. I'm going to text all of them. I'm going to celebrate them, check in with how they're doing, and invite them to a bonfire reunion. A very specific lead gen activity we can create when we help them realize all the different opportunity out there. So first and foremost, we have to make them realize all the different ways they can do lead gen, so there is zero excuse for I don't know what to do for lead gen. You know the groups of people in your life, you know all the ways you could communicate with them, and you know the reasons you could reach out to them. So we create that list. Now we teach them how to create a plan. Maybe they have a sphere goal or a production goal. Okay, where do you expect that to come from? Let's vision cast here. Where do you think you could get 3 deals from? Well, I believe I have this great bond with all these high school football player buddies from back in the day. I think I could get 3 deals from them. Great. We have a specific goal. Now, week in and week out, what lead gen activities can we craft to help you make that a reality? So we're taking all these pieces, this content we've helped them make, and now we're putting it into an intentional strategy, and then we schedule that strategy on a regular basis. We have to regularly teach them to time block lead gen as part of their day-to-day.
Yeah,
untouchable time.
What I've alluded to in some of my training modules that I have available, I talk about what's called an RWOD, a Realtor Workout of the Day. And the phrase WOD comes from the CrossFit life. And understand that when most people walk into a gym, they look around, and unless you are a seasoned gym rat, you oftentimes don't know what is it going to take to get a really great workout. And so CrossFit said, we're going to take the stupid out of it, and we're going to make it so you have predictable results every time. And so they tell you what your workout should be. They tell you how many reps. They tell you what exercises you should be doing. And you do that. And that's why CrossFit and Orange Theory and Solid Core and all these other things are such a hot trend right now, is because people want to be, frankly, they need to be told what to do. And what Connor's talking about is creating a customized workout for each of these people, helping them to see where they can get the most reps in and where they're going to see the biggest gains in the quickest amount of time, right? I mean, it's frankly simple. It's simple. It's not easy, but you're creating a customized plan with each of them so that you're not just telling them, here's the phone book, please go make some phone calls. You're saying, who do you know? What can you do so that you can get the biggest return on your investment?
Spot on. Anyone's capable of working out, but so many people need a handhold.
Yeah.
And that's really what the lead gen training is helping them realize where they're at, what they're capable of doing, and coming up with a plan to actually get those reps in, right?
Connor,
Targeted reps.
we have about 10 minutes left.
Yep. Spot on. We're doing great. And the icing on the cake for this whole theme is we're going to teach them to realize what they're capable of doing. We're going to help them make a plan to do it. And then we're going to help them come up with their own individual brand. You know, me, myself, and how I'm wired, you know, I did this exercise myself, and I uniquely came up with this dad jokes brand based on who I am. And we want people to realize what they're all about, what they care about. And we want them to help realize you have a brand based on who you are, and you should be using that to engage people too. Do you care about baking? Do you care about teaching people about finances? Are you the dad joke guy? Let's help them realize these things they can be. Erik, you've always been so great about having a brand consistently posted online. That's what we're trying to help them do, is realize, what do you uniquely care about, and how do we help you maximize that to engage people? And you know it's working when you use a brand like Dad Jokes and you start getting gifts of dad joke books and plaques, and people are texting you dad jokes. Helping people master a brand and execute it is a huge, subtle part of lead gen, and something we teach as icing on the cake for this whole second theme. And now we move into role play. Again, the principles to connect with people, it is dying. We teach some basic, crucial principles of lead gen, things like the concept of tell me more, going 3 deep, active listening versus hearing. These almost elementary sounding concepts that people need to practice in this day and age. Let's talk about active listening versus hearing. How many times in life nowadays are we just waiting our turn to talk versus actually actively listening to what someone's saying and let that guide us to where the conversation needs to go? That is a lost art form. And boy, I can't tell you how many times I'm talking to someone and I realize they're just waiting their turn to talk. They're not hearing me. You want to stand out? Let's master the skill of active listening so we can repeat back what someone said to us so people feel heard. You want to beat out other agents as far as earning a listing? That one skill alone can set you apart. So those are some of the principles we sit down and spend time practicing. And now we take these principles that we've taught and now we put it through the ring with some activities. Things like the checkbox activity. We literally codify some role plays we do. We have someone practice talking to a lead and we color code their questions they ask. Blue means it's a businessy question. Red is a relational question. We'll show them their code afterwards to say, you really didn't get very relational. It was all just asking about the house and you didn't learn anything about them. So we're going to teach them principles, and then the modules put those principles through the ringer with some intentional practices. And then with role play, we get to actual real estate pushback scenarios.
So let me jump in here very quickly.
Yeah.
I can assure you that most people watching this right now don't role play, Connor.
Mm-hmm.
That our groups are practicing on our clients and they're not practicing with each other. I love role play, and we're doing it with our veteran agents, our top performing people right now. And it's eye-opening how sharp they are in some areas and how dull they are in others. Role play should be an essential thing in your ecosystem 1 to 3 times a week for everybody.
Yes. This is the last slide that none of you have been able to see, but really once your training has been wrapped up, how much more training you do, you train forever. Like training 365, like Erik just said, role play should exist for veteran agents. That's your chance to continually show value to people. So yeah, training is forever. Role play is forever. You got to do it. Here's the fact is no one likes going to practice. For any of you who played sports though, I think we didn't like practice, but we knew we needed it to play the game well. Same thing, like no one likes going to practice. No one loves role play, but we got to realize we need it to play the game well and win. So implementing role play is a big deal. And yeah, there's so many activities to help give some direction to good specific role play. And yeah, jumping back in there, the last thing for role play is we then eventually get to actual real estate scenarios. How do you fight seasonality? How do you fight someone questioning your veteran experience or lack thereof? How about that person who thinks they're going to work with their past realtor out of some sense of loyalty? Those types of real estate scenarios we will get to. Again, that is after we establish the foundation of these principles that we'd help people practice mastering. And now we get into paperwork and process. Now it's actual, some more tangible, concrete real estate stuff. And we really break it down to how do we crush the pre-client part of it? How do we crush the active client part of it? And then how do we crush the offer accepted to closing and beyond?
And frankly, there's a fourth lap in that too, and that is how do you take somebody from being a past client to a referral source / repeat client?
Yeah, emphasis on pended client to closing and beyond, right? Thanks for unpacking that. And beyond, past client service is part of that leg of the paperwork and process theme of training. But God, the art of follow-up, the art of prepping for an appointment merits some conversation and time. What are these crucial steps to crush not only confirming an appointment, but setting yourself up to know what you need to do when you show up to the appointment? That's some things we strategize and talk about in that first leg of the pre-client skills. How do we show proactive service with our clients? How do we establish things like a communication plan per client? Some good practices to serve clients well when you're in the battle, if you will, in the search. And then lastly, once they have the offer accepted, how do we not just wait for it to close and move on to the next client? How do we make sure that experience is special from pended to close? Creating some powerful, memorable moments of client service. And how do we set them up for a post-closing client experience as a past client that'll make them come back? There's so much I want to talk about here. I motion for 3 more hours of time. But
motion denied. Let me say this, Connor, is what you have done is you have systemized something that is sloppy. I was the training and development guy before you and Robbie started doing it. And you took what I had done and you actually put it in something that makes sense, that's repeatable, duplicatable, and scalable. And so you have essentially taken that baton and ran with it now, and you've created something that is super, super advantageous. In addition to that, at our Hatch coaching summits for the last 3 years, you've been like the hottest commodity because you teach this in a breakout, and then all of a sudden we auction off. You can have Connor's training and development, or you can have like me as your coach. And I'm like, dude, the company's named after me. Like, I'm expecting me to go for like a sweet penny. And you like get twice the amount of money raised for our charity in the auction because you are that hot of a commodity. Because everybody has a gaping hole in their business on how to train and onboard exceedingly well. And so what we've done now is we've taken this and we've put it into video training modules. There was a question asked earlier about, are we using Trainual or Thinkific and that sort of thing? And what we're doing is we took all of your training and we put a camera in front of you. We wrote out homework and lessons so that we can scale this in our world. Selfishly, we wanted this for Hatch Realty. We wanted this so that we could have repeatable, duplicatable systems. And sure enough, we hear a massive amount of people knocking at our door saying, I want this. Can I please have this? Connor, can you do this for me? And now we figured a video training is the easiest and best way to scale. That Connor can do all of these lessons. It's all laid out. You as a rainmaker or an ops manager, you can't just be hands off, right? You can't just put somebody in front of an old TV VCR combo and expect them to watch this. First of all, the hookups wouldn't be right. But second of all, that's not what's going to help them be successful, because this is about an interconnected relationship and you understanding them to the core.
Yes.
But Connor, you've built this in such a way that it's now scalable and adoptable for people, right? Even they don't have to use our stuff. They can rip off and duplicate this all we want. I just know that we have 4 years into this to try to get it to the point of where it's at now. And that is so much money. That's so much time. Connor, what am I missing in what you've created with these modules? Because I think it's a big opportunity for people.
You know, I don't know if I have much else to add, really. You know, it is an opportunity to give them the content that I nerd out about, that I get excited about. And really, I think what's needed for sure is the touch of the team member who has some familiarity with what they're working towards, who gives a crap to check in on it. And that will multiply the effort. They shouldn't just sit down and watch a video and no one really brings it up to them outside of their room they're watching the video in. There should be some engagement. We need to live out the mindset of pouring into our team members. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that, we can't.
Yeah, this has been tried and tested, Connor, not just on our team, but you've done this for some of the top real estate teams in the industry. Yep. And they've essentially hired you. You donated your time because it was all a charitable donation thing, but they've hired you, and we said, holy cow, the feedback that they give, the engagement that their new people have, the likelihood of them leaving is far less, their success is far greater, and that Rainmaker was essentially able to employ you. And now we've just recreated that. I feel always a little bit cheesy and sheepish if I have a pitch on something like this. And I don't think of it as a pitch. I think of it as like you'd be crazy not to do this if you have a gaping hole in your training and onboarding. Mm-hmm. And so I put a link into the chat box. You're going to get an email on this too. If you're watching the recording of this, you go to hatchcoaching.com/hatchtraining. And there you can have Connor train your team. It's a monthly subscription. It's $379 a month, so it doesn't break any banks. And then you can bundle that too, because we have some other training things that we've done. Robbie T has built the ultimate guide to lead conversion. So you name it, if you're converting a lead, Robbie has these amazing video trainings for you and your team members. I have how to build a real estate team, everything about leadership and profit and loss and structure and accountability. We bundled all those together. You can get the three of them for $879 a month, which is really advantageous. And we're adding new things to it all the time. In fact, next week I'm going to be building how to master marketing in real estate. And so we're adding these great things in there, and it's an opportunity for you all if you do want to jump on it. So we'll send you an email if you're watching live. I put it in the chat box, or if you're watching the recording of this, go to hatchcoaching.com/hatchtraining. Connor, give me your final thoughts.
I think that we have an industry that is starving for quality training. I think there is a major need, and if companies want to elevate to the next level, we got to implement some purposeful training that creates Navy SEALs out of our team members. And the type of growth a team can get when you have a Navy SEAL sticking around for the long road, we can't even begin to imagine the impact, not just for their production, but for the future leader they can be to grow the company in ways we can't even imagine right now. And it starts with very intentional, planned, proactive, purposeful training for those people to get there.
Planned, proactive, purposeful. That is a lot of P's, and you aren't wrong on any of those. On behalf of my friend Connor Johnson, the best trainer and development guy in the industry, my name's Erik Hatch with Hatch Realty and Hatch Coaching. You know where to find us, hatchcoaching.com, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we put all sorts of goodies on there every week. God bless. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks all.